Hello, and thank you for joining us here on the Neutral Zone. I am Phil Milani, joined as always by my trusty sidekick, my partner in crime. Really, the best way to describe this person is my everything. It's
Your
at Eric
cadence,
Dalala.
your cadence threw me off a little bit there.
I know,
Sorry to
I
interrupt you, but nice to
mixed
be
it up.
with you, Phil. I'm
Yeah.
thankful for you.
I'm thankful for you as well, and I'm thankful for Neutral Zone Nation. Of course, this is our Thanksgiving edition of the podcast. Want to wish everybody a happy and safe Thanksgiving on this Thursday. We have got a great show in store for you. We're going to do some Thanksgiving superlatives, Eric.
Perfect. Who thought that up?
Last year, I believe we constructed a Thanksgiving meal and then said, like, which player on the team is most like mashed potatoes? Which player is most like gravy? That one was not that good. In the
That
past,
podcast?
I think that Thanksgiving discussion.
Oh, okay.
In the past, we've been like, who would you most want to have at Thanksgiving dinner with you? Today, we're going to do Thanksgiving superlatives. So make sure you stick around for that. Or you could just fast forward straight to that part because, let's face it, that's the best part of this show.
Time codes, baby.
Time codes, exactly. Of course, we'll have our usual shenanigans, fact, and fiction. That's the game where I come up with usually two truths and then one lie. Eric has to pick out which one is the lie. And I think we'll have in the blank.
Why wouldn't we?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll also dive into this matchup between the Broncos and Saints here. The Saints come in winners of 7 consecutive games. Last week, we thought it was like, oh, this is a hot team. The Dolphins, they won 5 consecutive games. The next week, how about 7 consecutive games?
I ain't scared. Give me 10.
I ain't scared.
Give me 11.
That ain't a problem. So we'll dive in. We'll talk a little bit about Drew Lock and Jerry Judy. Eric, talking a little bit about that. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about Emmanuel Sanders coming back to Denver for the first time since playing for the Broncos. And then also Trevor Siemian is coming back. I don't know. You probably.
Our guy.
You've been pumped up about that, Eric.
Trev's return.
Plus, we have a couple of emails that we will read off from NZ Nation. Of course, you can get in touch with the show. You can be on the show. You can leave a voicemail at 707-NEUTRAL. You can also leave an email, Eric. You can leave an email. How do they do that?
neutralzoneshow@gmail.com.
You can also hit us up on Twitter at Eric Dalala with an A, at Phil Milani with a PH. Kind of strange. Weird spellings there. So, Eric, with that, let's dive into this matchup a little bit. The Saints, usually we're talking, okay, this is one of the most high-powered offenses coming to town. You're usually talking about Drew Brees. We're talking about Sean Payton. But this defense is pretty legit.
Yeah, I mean, I still think the offense is going to be the key to the game, the Saints offense, that is. But when you've got players like Marshawn Lattimore, it's going to be a challenge for Drew Lock. It's not quite the same Saints defense. And maybe you think all the way back to 2016, Phil, that was kind of an offensive battle. It's not going to be the same type of contest here.
We heard from Drew Lock on Wednesday, and he said, hey, you look across the defense, you look on the other side of the line, you can name every single player on the other side of the line. The Saints come in 3rd in the NFL in sacks. Eric, I'm not sure. Have you ever heard of Trey Hendrickson? Does that name ring any bells to you?
I think I went to high school with that guy.
He's in his 4th season in the NFL. Coming into this season, he had 6.5 career sacks. This year, somehow he's exploded for 9.5, and he leads the NFL in sacks. 9.5 sacks out of nowhere.
Kind of maybe like Shaquille Barrett kind of. You're like a little confused how that happened. Maybe the Broncos should have gotten this guy too.
That's true.
You look at just the numbers, and they're good at almost everything, Phil. Like you mentioned, third in sacks, seventh in takeaways. Their rushing defense is really, really good, which is probably the biggest challenge to the Broncos because obviously they were able to have success against Miami because Drew Lock didn't have to do everything. And, it might fall more on his shoulders this week. And I know we'll get to him and Jerry Judy in a little bit, but this game, Drew's going to have to make more plays than he did a week ago for them to win this game. And even when he drops back to pass, it's going to be a challenge. A guy like Cameron Jordan, Phil, terrifying.
Terrifying. He's going to keep Drew awake on Saturday night. Everybody else will be nestled nice in their beds, and Drew's going to be thinking about Cam Jordan. But, yeah, Drew Lock was asked on Wednesday, where did he feel like he improved the most in that game against the Dolphins? And he said that he was taking what the defense was giving him. And I think that that's important. That's something we've talked about with Drew, is not pressing, just, trying to stay on the field. And he said that that was their biggest goal, was just trying to stay on that field. They definitely did that in the third quarter when it seemed like the Broncos were taking full control of that game. The Broncos were out on that field for more than 10 minutes in the third quarter.
Yeah, and, even if you don't score, I think they had one drive there where they turned it over on downs. You have another, obviously, where Melvin Gordon fumbles it near the goal line in the fourth quarter. But just the fact that you're not putting your defense out there every 2 minutes, it's not a Big Ten punt fest like we like to enjoy sometimes, Phil.
Cats guy. You're a Cats guy,
Yeah, exactly. Right? Big Cats guy. That's another shout out for our guy, Trevor Siemian. But no, even if you're not scoring, Phil, I think just being on the field, getting first downs, playing the field position battle, most weeks that's going to work. I do think this week you're going to have to do a little bit better than that. You're going to have to score probably, I would think, in the high 20s to be able to beat this team. They're averaging 29.5 points a game. And defensively, they're 8th in the NFL. They're actually giving up fewer points than the Broncos. And you think of the Broncos as one of the top defenses. One thing that maybe the Broncos can find success in is the Saints haven't been particularly good defensively in the red zone. And we know the Broncos have struggled there, obviously, offensively, but maybe they'll have a little bit more luck there and can convert some of these field goal opportunities into touchdowns and stay in this game.
The problem is you got to get to the red zone.
I stay in the red zone so I don't have to get to the red zone. That's
smart move.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they'll get a spark from somewhere else, maybe a big special teams play, something like that. Special teams was really good against the Dolphins last week. See if they can keep that going again this week against the Saints. But, yeah, it's going to be a heck of a test against this Saints defense coming in playing really good football, particularly in the areas that have given the Broncos some issues in the past, which is getting pressure on the quarterback and forcing mistakes. So, ball security is going to be crucial. I know that almost came back and bit the Broncos last week with that Melvin Gordon fumble. The first interception that Drew threw led to a touchdown. So ball security is going to be really important. And, Eric, let's get into the conversation a little bit about Drew Lock and his chemistry with Jerry Judy.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say that there's equal blame to go around, and Jerry Judy's been impressive. I think he ranks 4th in the NFL among rookies in receiving yards. I don't think he's been a disappointment to any extent, but I do think that it's clear there's room for growth between Drew Lock and Jerry Judy, and quite frankly, that needs to happen because if this is going to be a pairing that you count on for the next decade or whatever, assuming Drew's able to kind of carve out a spot here, then they need to connect on more passes. Right now, Jerry Judy's catch percentage is under 50%. He's been targeted 77 times and only has 37 catches. So, it's not going to be 100%. I don't think anyone expects that, but you'd like it to be, I think, in the 60 to 70% range as a rookie. And when you watch, Phil, I think some of it has to do with Jerry not always being able to hold on to these passes. I think sometimes it has to do with errant throws from Drew, which is what he said when I asked him about it on Wednesday. He took kind of the blame for it. He said it's not an issue of chemistry. It's not an issue of not being in sync. it's me just putting the ball where it needs to be. I do think, Phil, there were times against the Dolphins where it seemed like maybe they weren't on the same page, whether that was, Jerry's running a 9 route and Drew, puts it out there a little bit too far, or Judy slows up a little bit, or what it might be. But I think they're still working to figure that out. I think it's probably a little bit harder given that Judy's drawing the attention of some of these top cornerbacks. If Courtland Sutton was out there, I think it would help make this a little bit easier. But hopefully we see that kind of get better incrementally over the rest of the season.
Well, I think that coming into the season, a lot of the spotlight was going to be on Jerry Judy. He's, the 15th overall pick in the draft, the second wide receiver taken overall. That was the highest draft pick that the Broncos had ever used on a wide receiver. So you wanted to see what Jerry was made out of, and I think that he has responded well to that pressure, especially with Sutton down. But I think maybe you would expect at this point in the season more than 37 catches. We knew how talented this wide receiver class was heading into the NFL this season. And, you would think, okay, Jerry's got to be toward the top of that class. 37 catches has him in fourth place right now amongst all rookie wide receivers. Justin Jefferson is having a heck of a season up in Minnesota. 45 catches, 4 touchdowns. Tied for second, T. Higgins and C.D. Lamb in yardage. They have 629 yards there. C.D. has 48 catches, though, in Dallas. Judy, 589 yards. And then behind him is Chase Claypool. But Claypool has 8 touchdowns this season, which is ridiculous. So I do think that Jerry has had a lot of pressure on him. I think that he's played well. The thing that's confusing to me, Eric, is when you watch on tape, it looks like often Judy is open. And we've heard so much talk about his route running and how he's able to create this separation. It does seem like oftentimes he is open, just for whatever reason, it's not syncing up with Drew Lock.
Yeah, and it's hard to say, Phil, whether some of the time that's, where is this play supposed to go? What's the first read? What's the second read? But I agree in general that Judy does seem to be open a lot. And I think as the season goes on, you'd like to see those two link up more. I don't know if Jerry needs to be targeted more necessarily. I mean, the last few weeks he's averaging like 10 targets a game. That's pretty
about
good.
Right. That's where he should be.
Right. And so, I don't think that there's an issue of, hey, he's not, Drew's not looking that way enough. I think it just needs to be a scenario of how do we get him either more high percentage catches, because he's kind of at his best, Phil, I think, when he's in the open field and can run with it a little bit, catches it on a slant and can take it another 10, 20 yards. That run after the catch ability is really special. But I just think whatever it is, whether it's in practice or just more game reps, that needs to get sorted out. And I think it will, Phil. I mean, they're young guys playing their first however many games together. I don't think it's something to be worried about right now. It's just something that has kind of piqued my interest.
Yeah, of course. And, they didn't have the off season together. They didn't have preseason games to work on some of these things. But I think that you would have thought maybe 10 games into the season that maybe their chemistry would be a little bit better. I agree that drops have hurt him. He's obviously, had a few of those, but then also just some missed throws too that either way down the field where it's gone over his head or, some that haven't just been in his area. So I think it's a combination of things. I think they'll continue to work on that, and hopefully just over time you can see that to continue to progress. Last week against Miami, 8 targets, just 3 catches. The week before that, 8 targets, 4 catches. So maybe not exactly where you'd hoped he'd be, but then again, the week before that, his game against Atlanta, he dominated. So I think that's to be expected for a rookie. Now, the interesting thing is that because the Broncos have so many young guys, this is around the time of the year where a college player's season is coming to an end. So it will be interesting to see if any of these guys hit what we call the rookie wall we'll have to see if they hit some of that or if they can just keep going through and finish up the season, these last 6 games strong.
That's a good point. Yeah. And it's hard to say if Cortland Sutton hit that his rookie year, Phil, just because, part of it was that Demaryius Thomas was gone. He'd been traded, and Emmanuel Sanders had suffered that Achilles injury. And so, maybe you could say, oh, it was the rookie wall, but I'm not sure if you can kind of single that out, or if you could just say, hey, now he was the number one receiver, and that was, hard to deal with.
Yeah.
But I think we'll get a good idea, knock on wood, that nobody else gets hurt. We'll see what Jerry Judy's able to do the rest of the way here. KJ Hamler, I'm not sure I expect him to hit that wall just because he's missed some time. He seems a little fresher. He's almost improving each week, I think. And so that'll be interesting to watch. But, yeah, certainly something to monitor. But I don't know. Maybe I'm not quite as worried about it with these guys. Every other aspect of his game, Phil, has seemed kind of pro-ready. And so I wonder if maybe he can kind of skip this bump in the road that a lot of people have.
Yeah. And, the way that these guys train now physically, I mean, they're superhuman almost, so like, I don't think that physically, unless they're got some bumps and bruises and stuff, I don't expect them to hit some sort of a wall.
Well, and here's the other thing for Jerry Judy. He's used to playing 15 games a year, Phil, because they went to the college football title game a lot. So
that's true.
He, it's not like our Buffs or our Cats where they're playing 12 games and they're done. These guys are Jerry Judy's used to putting in extra work, so 16 should be no problem.
This year the Buffs have played 2 games, so hey.
Yeah, they might hit the wall after 3 or 4. Like, we're done here.
Exactly. Eric, do you want to play fact, and fiction?
I would love to, Phil.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's play one of our favorite games here. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Eric, but the Saints have only beaten the Broncos twice all time.
Okay.
One of those 2 losses to the Saints came in 1988. The Saints beat the Broncos 42-0. And part of that Saints coaching staff was the one and only Vic Fangio. He was their linebackers coach.
Of course, the Dome Patrol.
Exactly. And we heard Vic talk on Wednesday about his time in New Orleans and how he's very fond of that. His first stop in the NFL. He said that New Orleans is sort of like a second home to him. He was the linebackers coach on that 1988 team. 42-0. Okay. Number 2, unfortunately, the Broncos will not be facing Drew Brees on Sunday. Maybe fortunately for the defense, but unfortunately in general, because it's always fun to be able to see a future Hall of Famer, out there playing the game. And, hopefully Drew is doing okay after he suffered a collapsed lung, Eric. I mean,
yikes.
That sounds pretty bad.
It does.
That doesn't sound like always twisted his ankle.
A lot of broken ribs.
A lot of broken ribs. Exactly. But Drew has beaten every NFL team at least once.
Okay.
But he only has a losing record against 4 teams. Okay. He's beaten every team at least once, but 4 teams in the NFL, he has a losing record against them, including the Broncos. All time, he is 2-8 against the Denver Broncos. Of course, he played the Broncos a lot while he was the starting quarterback for the San Diego Chargers.
Okay, 2-8 versus the Broncos. 4 teams that he has a losing record against.
4 teams overall that he has a losing record against. Okay. 4 teams. Okay. And then the final one here for you, Eric. Last week, the Broncos really got their running game going. Both Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay had more than 15 carries for more than 80 yards each. Okay. That is the first time a Broncos tandem has done that since 1984 when Gerald Wilhite and Sammy Winder did it. The first time that's happened for the Broncos. Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay each having at least 15 carries and rushing for more than 80 yards each. That's the first time that's happened since 1984. Gerald Wilhite and Sammy Winder doing that for the Broncos.
So I think that one is false. I think it's probably been done more recently than that.
You're correct. That is the false one. How many times would you just guess that that's happened for the Broncos?
Since then, or just in general?
Since 1984. That has happened
4?
Twice, actually. And both times it came in the 2000 both happened in the 2016 calendar year. One happened at the final game of the 2015 season. Ronnie Hillman and C.J. Anderson. That's the game when Peyton Manning came back out there and replaced Brock Osweiler. The Broncos ended up winning that game and securing the number 1 seed in the AFC. So Ronnie Hillman and C.J. Anderson did that. And then the next year in 2016 against the Texans, Devontae Booker and C.J. Anderson did that.
Nice. Good for them.
Sort of interesting. That's only happened 7 times in Broncos history since the 1970 merger. So only 7 times, but it has happened more recently.
You know what's interesting is that I was looking up another stat, Phil.
Oh.
How many times the Broncos have had 2 100-yard rushers in the same game? That's happened 5 times since the merger. But I don't believe any of the ones you just read off applied to that scenario, and I wonder if it's because
the 15 carries probably.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe they took fewer carries to get to 100 yards, so
a busted one. Yeah, exactly. One other little tidbit, this isn't part of it, but I was looking up some stuff about Drew Brees, doing some research here. How many times would you say in Drew Brees' career he was an AP All-Pro? How many times would you say?
First team All-Pro?
Yeah. And there's only one of those. So it's not like you can be like, oh, pretty good. How many times do you think he's been first team All-Pro?
Once?
Yeah.
Was it in
2006? 2006.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because 2010, of course, is when they started like 14-0 or 13-0 and won the Super Bowl. I kind of figured maybe that was the year.
2006. So actually, that's interesting. His numbers have been better since then, but he must have just been the best quarterback in the NFL that year. Yeah. So, but Drew, obviously, a very prolific career. 13 times he was selected to the Pro Bowl. Has not won an MVP, which is interesting, but he was the AP Offensive Player of the Year in 2011 and 2008. The 2006 Walter Payton Man of the Year. So obviously won a Super Bowl as well. So,
and Phil, I'm sure you know that John Elway was never a first team All-Pro.
Which is crazy. You just wonder what the AP is doing.
That's true. I prefer the college football ranking, the playoff ranking, to the AP ranking.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, right?
Yes, the AP. They're too busy. They got too much stuff going on, you know?
Yeah. They're like, we got to pick an offensive player. We got to rank the cats. We got too much going on.
It's just too much going on. And John, I believe, was only an MVP once, which makes you wonder, how do you win MVP but not be an All-Pro?
It does make you kind of think that.
He's not only the best player at his position, he was the best overall player in the entire league that year, but not at his position. Very confusing.
Did you see, Phil, that some writer tweeted yesterday that Peyton Manning will get into the Hall of Fame, but is not a Hall of Fame player?
I did see that. He didn't he make some sort of a argument that like he was never the best for an extended stretch of his career, which is really just silly talk.
Yeah, I think he said in order to be in the Hall of Fame, you should be the best player at your position for like 3 or 4 years. And you can't look it up because he since deleted it.
Smart
because he
to
just
delete
got
it. Dumb tweet, though.
ratioed into oblivion.
Peyton Manning was a 5-time MVP, Eric.
Yeah.
Just like that should just sort of just seal it up right there.
Well, and if that's your argument, there'd be like 3 people in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. But I would say Peyton was the best quarterback in the league for an extended period of time. Obviously, Tom has had a lot of success in the postseason.
The postseason, yes.
You know, he's won 6 Super Bowls. So, I mean, that's fair. But in the regular season, there was nobody better than Peyton Manning for a long, long, long time.
Yeah. I mean, he holds the touchdown record for a reason. Held the touchdown record.
Yeah,
holds
I was
it.
Say,
he still holds it, right?
I don't think so. I believe that Drew Brees passed him.
No. I mean, single season. He still holds that.
Yes, 55. Yeah, 55. Yeah. That 2013 season. I'm not sure if that'll ever be beaten. It was just insanity. 2013. 13.
I'm a little worried. I think Mahomes is probably coming for that at some point.
He got close a couple of years ago. Didn't he have 50?
He had 50 in his first full season.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm telling you, you really have got to have your pedal to the metal all 16 games. That season was ridiculous. He had 7 in the first game that year.
Yeah. I will say Patrick Mahomes at times, it seems like he's just kind of messing around. Like
yes.
Not to suggest he doesn't take the game seriously, but it's just like so easy for him that he's like, oh, maybe it'll be fun once in a while to like have to go down the field in a minute and a half to beat somebody. Like it gets boring just blowing people out, I think.
Yeah. But not for Peyton Manning. He enjoyed that.
No.
And he was in games where like that Cowboys game that season was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like you never felt like that team was ever out of any game because they could just score so – I mean, they were kind of like the Chiefs. You know, they just score methodically.
Right.
So very impressive. And congratulations to Peyton Manning and also John Lynch being named semifinalist for the Hall of Fame this year.
Yeah. You know, I think certainly
no doubt about Peyton. Yeah. Megatron also first ballot, probably Charles Woodson first ballot.
Would you say that you think John Lynch is a definite finalist this year? Like, do you think he continues to get in the room?
Yeah.
Probably, right?
Yeah. He's been knocking on the door. I think that he'll eventually.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think this year will be tough, but next year kind of clears up a little bit.
This year, a lot of first ballot guys. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I think John's probably still back in where's the Super Bowl this year?
Tampa.
So probably that would be kind of cool for him to be able to get that knock in Tampa. So
obviously he played there.
Yeah.
For those Neutral Zone Nation listeners who might not be familiar.
Exactly. So, yeah, congratulations to those guys and wish them the best. I don't think Peyton Manning needs much luck, but it would be cool to see if John can cross over that threshold into football immortality, as his buddy Steve Atwater did. So,
Steve the
Hoff. Eric, should we move on? Did you want to do fill in the blank, or did you want to do our Thanksgiving superlatives?
Let's do fill in the blank first, Phil.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
If that's okay.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready.
Get that right here.
Napkin ready.
It's a roster, Phil. I like to just study it in my free time.
I just memorize the roster, so I don't need it.
Yeah. Phil, first one. Which Broncos player or you're most thankful for blank among players on the Broncos roster this year?
I'm most thankful for them.
Yeah.
I would say Justin Simmons probably most thankful for because he's come through with some big plays. That one against the Dolphins obviously saved the game. But I think you're just thankful that you got a player like that in the secondary where you're like, I got beat maybe as a cornerback, but thankfully Justin Simmons was there. And then also for me personally, Justin Simmons, very accommodating for the media, always willing to answer some questions, even though it's a hard, maybe it's a bad loss or something like that. He's there to answer some questions. And so that combination, highly talented player, really good with the media. I'm thankful for him. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, I think Justin's a good one. I'm trying to think maybe a different option just because we can't both go with Justin. I feel like that's
true. Maybe
cheating a little bit.
If you're Drew Lock, you could say I'm thankful for Garrett Bowles.
That's true. I think I can handle figuring out who I want to pick, though. If that's okay.
I was just offering you something if you needed it.
We're not fighting YouTube commenters. We're just chatting.
Yeah, because like when I was like, "What do you think?" You were like, "I don't know," and you were trying to buy time and hedge a little bit. So like,
let's say Bryce Callahan. I'm all aboard the Bryce Callahan train.
Really?
I think he's been spectacular in his return from injury. He's been every bit as advertised. He's kind of unlucky that Justin Simmons is so good because otherwise he might be the best player on the defense. But I'm
that's tough, huh? It's tough. You're like, man, I really wish Justin Simmons wasn't that good because then I would be the best player.
Well, Justin, it just came out, Phil. Justin is the top vote getter at the free safety position for the Pro Bowl. So it seems like he's a nice guy too.
He's a nice guy. That's why he's getting a lot of votes.
Yeah, 80,000 people were like, that's a nice guy.
Have you noticed Justin only has one arm of tattoos? The other one, no tattoos. One arm, all tattoos. Sort of interesting. Have you noticed that?
Are you saying 2 arms of tattoos equal bad guy? Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm not saying anything about the kind of guy he is based off his tattoos. I'm just saying it's interesting that it's not like he's got a couple on each arm. He's just got one arm that's completely full, the other arm none.
Are
you
we
don't
just
want to
saying
spread
facts
the love
about Justin Simmons? Like he's from
Florida. That's an interesting thing.
Did you know he went to high school with his wife?
I did know that, yes.
Okay.
You and I have both been to Justin Simmons High School.
That's true.
We both. Martin County.
I feel like we talk about this a lot.
Martin County.
I just think that the Broncos secondary would have been hurting at the cornerback position without Bryce Callahan, and so I'm thankful for him.
Okay, that's a nice one. Let's move on. Thank goodness. That's what I'm thankful for.
Jerry Judy, Phil, we talked about him, drafted in the first round. He would have to be as good as blank, and I'm looking for a Broncos receiver.
Well, Broncos receiver.
I guess you can go NFL. Okay. He would have to be as good as blank for that to be a successful pick.
Well, you want to name somebody who's really good, right?
Correct.
And has like had a long career. But if you're like, he has to be as good as like Amari Cooper. Well, that's a high bar to live up to. But that's the one that I would say is like he'd have to be at least as good as Amari Cooper, I think. I would say like,
is there a Denver receiver? Amari Cooper, for the record, has made 4 Pro Bowls so far.
That's what I would say.
Obviously, his career 4 in 6 years.
I mean, that's a high bar, but I also think he needs to be up there in that kind of conversation. A Broncos wide receiver who would be like you'd be okay with it with him.
Does he need to be as good as Demaryius Thomas? Does he need to be better than Demaryius Thomas?
Obviously, different wide receiver style wise, but production wise, I would say he needs to be at least like Demaryius Thomas.
Okay,
I would say, and obviously DT had an amazing career, but
right, is Emmanuel Sanders enough? 2 Pro Bowls in Denver. I think you probably want more from Jerry Judy.
More. Do it more.
Good. Well, hopefully that hypes Emmanuel up before this game. Let's move on before we make him angry.
He knows I love him.
That's true.
I'm looking forward to seeing him. I wish I could say hello down on the field, but I'll have to scream from the stands.
That's true. We went to Animal Kingdom, Phil, with Emmanuel Sanders.
It's true. And his son, Princeton.
Yeah, Princeton Sanders.
Yeah. Remember when Princeton would run out onto the field during training camp? And it would be like such a cute moment where he'd like do some stretching after.
Princeton's like 23 now, I think.
That kid has better style than you or me.
Certainly you, yeah. Phil, the Broncos are 4-6 now. after starting 3-6
Facts.
for the fourth consecutive year.
Facts.
What would be a successful record for the
I
Broncos
kind
to
of felt
finish
like
at?
maybe something like that would be coming.
Oh, you thought so?
Because I kind of felt like something
Because
like, let's
the
look
schedule,
ahead.
we hadn't talked about it in a while.
We have not talked about the schedule. I felt like maybe something schedule-wise. I would say at the beginning of the season, I was like, we need 8-8. We need. Now,
I think there's probably like a preview video I could find where you said the Broncos are going to the playoffs. I think I could probably find that if I
thought that, but I was like, at the very minimum, we need.
Got it. Okay.
We need 8-8. Do I think that if they need to go 4-6 to be considered successful, that might be a little bit of a stretch at this point.
Go 8-8, you mean?
Yeah, to go to win 4 out of 6 here to finish up the season. So I'd say if they win 3 more games, I think I would be like, that's not quite the season I was hoping for, but also I think these guys got some good experience. They didn't quite get in that playoff conversation, but like considering all the injuries that happened, and it's just sort of a weird year with COVID, let's just go out at 7-9. I think at this point, if they won 3 more, I would be okay with that. Overall, though, another losing season, you would not be happy with that. But I think at this point, looking at the final 6 games, knowing that they've got to play the Bills, the Chiefs, the Raiders, the Saints, if they were able to somehow win 3 out of the next 6, including another game with the Chargers and then the Panthers as well, if they could win 3 of those, I'd be pretty pleased.
Yeah, and we know what Jeff Fisher would say about going 7-9. He doesn't like it.
He don't like it.
But I think if you could get to 7-9, go 3-3 over this last stretch, that's tough, Phil. You've got.
I just said the schedule.
I know, but 3 division. Well, you like to repeat what I say, so I'll just say here that 3 division leaders in your final 6 game. That's a tough slate there.
But not just that, but you're talking about teams like the best teams in the NFL with the Saints and the Chiefs.
Yes. So. Obviously, the Saints are without their starting quarterback, so I think that game seems a little you at least like your chances a little bit more than if Drew Brees is out there, and we can get to the offense if we want to. But, yeah, I think if you can get wins against the Panthers and Chargers and then steal one of the other ones, you get to 7-9. Like you said, Phil, a lot has gone on this year with injuries, with not having a full offseason or really any in-person offseason. I think you say, hey, again, we fought back from 0-3, and 7-9 would mean going 7-6 down the stretch. I mean, it's not perfect by any means, but it shows that you've been able to battle here. And you just got to – next year you just got to avoid falling into these holes. I mean, that – if you look at what's hurt the Broncos the last 2 years under Vic Fangio, it's that they've been trying to battle out of these holes for really the entire season. And if you could just start a season 1-0 or 2-0,
exactly,
you'd be like, hey, now we're cooking. But yeah, I think 7-9 would be okay. And 8-8 I would be thrilled with at this point because that means going 8-5 down the stretch, and that's nothing to turn your nose up at.
Yeah, I would have said at the beginning of the year 7-9 is disappointing, but currently where they sit and considering who's still left on the schedule, I would say 7-9 would be pretty good at this point.
Yeah, but I think you can also say, hey, 7-9 is disappointing. It's not good enough, but all things considered, like it's somewhat respectable. That you didn't go. This team after losing their first 3, Phil, and then looking at games, they could have ended up 3-13. And knock on wood that we went some more here, but
I was going to say one thing to consider, though, is that not, going 3-3 down the stretch here, not all of those situations are created equally. Like if they beat the Chiefs in one of those wins, then I'd feel a lot better about it. If they were to beat the Raiders in one of those wins, I would feel a lot better about it. That kind of 3-3 and one of the wins coming against one of those guys, I would feel a lot better about it. So
yeah. Well, and if you win this weekend too, you feel much better.
Yes. So it'll be interesting to see here. 6 weeks left. The NFL is going under these stricter COVID protocols. It feels like, okay, the finish line is out there. let's see how we can finish strong and get that and cross the finish line feeling good about the season. And also if Drew Lock, I'll say this, if Drew Lock finishes these last 6 games looking really good, I would feel okay about 7-9. Like I'd be like, difficult start, had some rough patches, but man, he finished those last 6 games really strong. Better than he did against the Dolphins. Like he played good to win that game, but I would say that overall, not exactly the game he was hoping for. But if he could play Bell, continue to stack some good games on top of each other, I would feel fine. So
yeah, I think that's fair.
All right, Eric, you want to finally get to some of these Thanksgiving superlatives?
Let's do it.
This is what everybody's been waiting for. Okay,
I know
Eric,
it.
this is we're going to consider the Broncos roster and then the most likely two. Okay, and then you tell me you got the roster right there ahead.
Got the roster right in front of me.
Yeah. Okay. Who is most likely to fall asleep after eating? You had a nice big meal. The tryptophan is starting to set in. You're sitting on the couch. It's nice and warm. You typically would be watching a football game, but not this year because Ravens and Steelers got moved to Sunday. So no football, but maybe you're watching a movie. Maybe
2 other games on Thursday.
Yeah, but not after dinner.
Okay.
Maybe the end of that Cowboys game is wrapping up.
What if I just eat really? Maybe I'll just move my meal up.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
I'll say Shelby Harris.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think that he, we know from asking him previously, he can house some food.
Yes.
I bet he settles in for a nice slumber pretty quickly.
Nice relax. He feels pretty good.
Yeah.
I was going to say Graham Glasgow.
He doesn't even have any furniture.
I know. He might have to. That's based off a comment he said in training camp that COVID had delayed some of his furniture deliveries. He just had some like camping chairs, I think. But Graham strikes me as the kind of guy who likes a nice Thanksgiving dinner and then settles in. Maybe he's got like a blankie,
Is that because he's like got a nice beard? Is that what?
Yeah, exactly. And he's kind of got that personality. He's got a very funny personality.
He does. Yeah.
There's something about him, like when he just talks, it makes me chuckle. I don't know why. He's not even trying to be funny, but he just makes me laugh. It's very
Let's not be mean.
Yeah. I'm not being mean. I'm sincere. He's just funny. Like he's just got a funny mannerisms. Eric, who is most likely to go back, not for seconds, because I think almost all football players, maybe other than Deontay Spencer, would go back, maybe KJ Hamler. They'll go back for at least seconds. But I want to know who's most likely to go back for thirds.
What is it that people are saying, Phil? I think they're saying feed Phil. I bet Philip Lindsay would go back for some thirds.
Really?
Yeah,
really?
He's got like that Tasmanian devil vibe where he could just tear through a couple plates and be like, I want more. I need that energy.
You could go the same way saying that Melvin Gordon was already on his way to going back for thirds, but that's when he fumbled. Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. If you wanted to
time go down for this one.
I was going to say, let's see. I'd say Garrett Bowles maybe.
That was my second choice. I thought that was
I'd say
nice
Garrett
one.
Bowles. Now Garrett Bowles gluten-free.
Oh.
Garrett Bowles is. But turkey, I think that he would enjoy a lot of turkey. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
too much turkey.
Too much turkey makes you fall asleep. Okay. Number 3 here. Who is most likely to insist on calling it dressing instead of stuffing? Now, you and I disagree on this because you say stuffing is only what is stuffed inside the bird, right? And cooked with the turkey.
Cooked, yes, correct. Cooked inside the bird. Dressing cooked separately.
But it's the same ingredients.
Right. This is not like a disagreement. Like I could be right, you could be right. This is like a fact that you're just like.
These are facts.
Yeah.
Thank you for.
Who would be insistent? I would say Brandon McManus would be insistent on calling it dressing. Brandon likes to be correct. That's not a bad thing. I think as a kicker, that's you want to be accurate. You want to make sure everything is precise.
Yeah.
You know your yardages, all that. Like, but I could see
Yeah.
Brandon McManus saying that's dressing. That's not stuffing.
Got it. See, in my opinion, like people in the South like to call it dressing. Like they're like, that's dressing. Okay. That's just what I think. Okay. Like they like to call that dressing. I'm not sure. I could just be way off on that. So I'm not going to like stick to my guns on this, but I'll just say that's where I was coming from, was that
Okay.
my understanding was what you call it has to do with where you grew up.
Okay.
That's what I sort of thought. So I thought maybe, actually, speaking of the devil, Deontay Spencer grew up in Louisiana. I feel like he would be insistent on being like, no, this is called dressing.
Got it.
That's where I was coming from. You look like you just ate some turkey there. You kicked back in your seat. You're just holding your microphone in your hand. Yeah, exactly.
Do it.
Here's number 4 here, Eric. Who would be most likely to maybe sneak a piece of dessert before the meal even starts? Maybe they're hanging out around the kitchen, and the pumpkin pie's hanging out there. You just get a little taste. A little smack roll.
I'm gonna say Lloyd Cushenberry, Phil.
That's obviously a great pick.
Sir Lloyd Cushenberry
Sir the third.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sir snaps a lot.
Exactly. For those of you who haven't read Rookie Diaries.
Oh, shameless plug.
Lloyd eats a pack of fruit gummies before every game, and then he eats a pack of fruit gummies at halftime. And so I know he's a big dessert guy. He's kind of
what kind of gummies? Like
Welch's, fruit
Oh, really?
snacks.
Fruit snack. Got it. So not like gummy worms.
No,
like
I
gummy
would
bears.
eat those.
Yeah.
Scooby
Sour Patch Kids
snacks. Yeah.
Yeah.
None of these are sponsors.
No.
And Lloyd just out of college, he's a big kid.
That's true.
I could see him being like, nobody's gonna notice if I just like grab a little chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah.
So I'll go with Lloyd.
Got it. I was gonna say maybe Malik Reed to me, because he's like such a nice guy, and he's so polite, and he's very proper. But I feel like maybe in this type of a setting, he wouldn't think oh, it's that big a deal. You know what I mean? He seems what do you mean? That's not okay. And this season he's gotten pretty sneaky.
Okay.
Yeah.
My other choice would have been Kareem Jackson, because he could have taken a cupcake to put on Vic Fangio's desk to get another vet.
That's a good. That's that's true.
You like that?
Yeah, but Kareem likes Thanksgiving on Thursday, but he really likes Flex Friday, the following day.
True.
Flex Friday.
Yeah, he wouldn't eat the dessert. He would just take it to give to Vic.
Smart. Okay, final one. Right? Yeah, you're playing this right. Yeah. This is the final one, Eric. Who is the player on the team most likely to just say, forget all this hoopla about Thanksgiving, I'm just going to order a pizza? Who's most likely? Most likely to just say, you know what, it's not worth the hassle.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe Von Miller. Can I say Von? Is that cheating?
No, you can say why.
I could just see Vaughn being like, I got to get back to DJing, or I got to, in a normal
year. He lives a busy life.
Yeah, normal year, you're like, I got a bunch of people coming to Club 58. I don't have time to roast a turkey. I think Vaughn mentioned, didn't he say to you in April that he had to learn how to cook for himself?
Yeah.
I think he mentioned that.
Because of the COVID. Yeah, he couldn't have his cook come over to the house. Yeah, that's true.
Tough. So I could see him just saying, hey, let's get a pizza. But I don't know if I could picture Vaughn putting pizza into that body.
Into the Ferrari. Yeah, you got to put premium gas into that body. Yeah.
Maybe it's a nice pizza.
Yeah, exactly. California style, broccoli.
California pizza kitchen.
No, I meant broccoli and maybe some barbecue chicken or something like that on it.
Yeah.
I missed the opportunity here talking about dessert because one guy who I know really loves desserts is Tim Patrick. He loves bundt cakes, you know.
True,
And
he
so
does.
but I was going to say maybe Tim Patrick would be a kind of a guy who he doesn't seem like he's like, oh, like it's got to be like this way. Like I think that he's like pretty flexible and adaptable, and he's like, you know what, let's just have a pizza. Like that's a good.
Yeah.
He seems like maybe that kind of guy who would just enjoy. Hey, let's forget about this tradition, that kind of stuff. Let's get to the good stuff here.
Yeah. My other choice would have been KJ Hamler, just another young guy who obviously his mom raps for him.
For his birthday.
Very close. Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe
she's not just like rapping all the time. It's not like he calls and says, "Hey,
I
mom,
understand that.
give me a
Do
rap."
one.
Yeah, do one.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's a special.
But I could see him being like, him and Judy being like, we don't know what to do. Let's just get a pizza.
Let's just get a pizza and avoid bears.
Exactly. Can't take the chance of
don't risk it. Don't risk it.
Getting a turkey and potentially seeing a bear. Yeah, could be bad.
All right. Well, those are our Thanksgiving superlatives. Eric, should we get to some voicemails, emails, that kind of thing?
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do that.
Here, let's transition. Hard to transition out of a Thanksgiving chat here. But,
it is.
But hold on one sec. I'll pull up I got some emails here. This is from our friend Honko Jansen from Cape Town. Appreciate that. He says, first of all, he says, hi, Phil Eric. And he said, thanks, celebrity duo. Like you just put the names together. That needs a little bit of work, Honko. I'm not sure about that. What do you think? I know.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I'm not.
He says that
Phil doesn't really work.
Yeah. He says that this week we face a tough but definitely winnable matchup in the Saints. I do not think this is going to be a high-scoring game, so I'm hoping to see a conservative approach from the offense. No mistakes. The Broncos need to be physical from the first snap and establish the run game like they did this last week. I look forward to some clever run plays. We saw the Broncos do that with Garrett Bowles pulling Dalton Reisner. And he thinks maybe there's an advantage playing at this altitude. Especially, you got to go easy on the turkey, especially that. So he says Drew should only sling bombs if we're backed into a corner. He says the prediction, 21-17 Broncos.
I like that. That'd be nice.
I don't know. Yeah, that'd be nice. Another email here is from Bill. He writes, this is about Floyd Little. We're obviously thinking about Floyd right now as he enters hospice care. One of the great Broncos of all time, Hall of Famer. He says, Bill writes here, I actually never saw, he goes, sorry. I learned how to read. Let me try it again here. I actually saw every home game Floyd Little played live at Mile High. Do not think any stadium could shake like that one. I have seen every running back we've ever had. And other than TD, Floyd Little was the best because he did it for so long and so well. I will add him to my prayers. Nice email there from Bill. So we all obviously are thinking about Floyd Little.
Definitely. A guy that has a very special place in this organization's history, Phil, and nice that he ended up getting into the Hall of Fame. I think I talked with Jeff Legwold, Phil, and he said nobody loved being a Hall of Famer more than Floyd Little did.
That's 100% accurate because Floyd, whenever you saw him in public, he either had a Hall of Fame jacket, like sort of like a bomber jacket, or like a hat. He always had his ring on. Sometimes he had the gold jacket. And obviously Floyd was an amazing player. I think one way to put it in perspective is when he finished his career, the only other pro running back during that span who had more rushing yards than him was O.J. Simpson. So obviously puts that into perspective, his greatness. And then the other thing about Floyd, I'll say, is when he told a story, it filled up the whole room. I mean, the guy had an electric personality. You couldn't quite tell if he was telling real facts or if he just kind of was embellishing some things. He told a story about how one time late in a game he fumbled the ball. And he ran over to the sideline, and the coach said, "You're done. Just forget it. Just go to the locker room. Like, just forget about it." But the Broncos got the ball back just in time to have like a desperation play. And instead of walking into the locker room, he just ran back out onto the field. And he told his backup, "Get out of here." And then he told, I believe it was Marlon Briscoe, who was the quarterback there, "Just chuck it up and I'll catch the ball." He did that. He caught the ball, won the game. I'm not sure. I think that a lot of those facts are accurate, but maybe some to make the story a little bit better. So
Facts with a PH.
my kind of facts.
Exactly.
Exactly. And then Eric, just one voicemail here to play on this Thanksgiving. Ironically, it's about ribs, Eric. You know, we talked about ribs with Drew Lock. And I don't know if you remember, but I said, contrary to popular belief, they go all the way around. This guy did not leave his name, but he agreed with me.
Hey, Eric. I agree with Phil. Contrary to popular belief, your ribs actually do go all the way around to your back. All right.
Eric, I'm not sure. Maybe that guy's a doctor, or like, I'm not sure what his specific trade is, but he agrees with me. So
I'd like to have it be known I in no way was making a statement about if I agreed or disagreed about what ribs do and where they're located.
Eric, this is the internet. There's no nuance, okay? It's just you came out against it, and now that's the way people
believe. I'm just trying to imagine like what ribs would look like if they just stopped, you know?
Exactly. Nice. I'm sure that Drew Brees knows all about ribs. So
that's true.
Eric, any shout outs or anything to get to? Anything you're particularly thankful for on this Thanksgiving?
Oh, thankful for. Well, you know, Phil, I think as Drew Lock said earlier on Wednesday, he said, you know, a lot of people struggling right now aren't. Some people have been laid off, haven't been able to go to their jobs every day. So I'm just thankful, Phil, that we get to do this, get to interact with members of Neutral Zone Nation, get to cover football for a living. Obviously, we'd rather cover a 10-0 team than a 4-6 team, but it's still.
You want to cover the Steelers? Is that what you said?
Exactly. But still fun to do, and we're thankful for those people that listen, Phil, and
yes,
call in with advice about ribs and Batman and all sorts of stuff like that.
Broncos Batman did leave a voicemail. Shout out to him. Maybe just we gotta cap this thing at maybe like 2 or 3 a week. So, but very thankful for him though. Love him. We end the show with Bronco Batman now, so that's a nice little touch there. So, but I agree with you, Eric. Sometimes it's easy to lose perspective. You know, sometimes you get caught up a little bit in, you know, what's going on with the Broncos or this or that. And a lot of that stuff just doesn't mean quite as much. And it's good to take some time once in a while to reflect, be thankful for what you do have. And, you know, one of I think our approaches to this show is to provide a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of lightheartedness. You know, after all, football is just a game, and it's supposed to be entertainment. And I think that we try to do that. And hopefully when you're listening to this, it provides I'm not sure if it's a good distraction, but it's a distraction, you know, to whatever's happening. Maybe you're stuck in traffic. Maybe you're trying to you're trying to pump out that, you know, 10th rep on the bench, and you're just listening to us talk about, you know, Thanksgiving a little. So, whatever it is, maybe you're doing laundry. Maybe you're making Thanksgiving. Whoa. That's like you're breaking like the third wall there or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Fourth wall, I think.
Fourth wall, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, all right, Eric. Well, I think that's going to wrap up this edition of the Neutral Zone. Talked a little bit about the Broncos, what they're going to be facing with the Saints defense this week. Talked a little bit about Drew Lock and Jerry Judy. Got some of our usual shenanigans in there, and also some Thanksgiving superlatives. So hopefully you enjoyed this. We'll be back on Monday breaking down the game. We'll hear from Vic Fangio, and also always looking for voicemails and emails from you guys. So we'll play those coming up on Monday. Until then, for Eric Dalala, I am Phil Milani. You've been listening to
The Neutral Zone.
This is Bronco Batman, and you're listening to The Neutral Zone.